Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, a missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, January 13th, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Once again today, we have a great number of feasts, so we'll start off in Spain with Nuestra Señora de la Cabeza in Motril, Granada, Andalucía, in Spain. So Nuestra Señora de la Cabeza is literally Our Lady of the Head, right? So what are we celebrating here? Well, in the 1500s, soldiers found a 100-year-old statue of the Virgin and Child in Corinth, Greece. And so what they did is they took it with them out to sea. A storm brought them to port near Motril in southern Spain. Every time they tried to leave, a new storm came up. So deciding that this meant that the Virgin didn't want to leave the place, they built her a chapel on the land, right? On the headland, I guess that's the piece that comes out. So in the 1600s, a Baroque church was built for Our Lady of the Head. In the 1800s, when earthquakes nearly destroyed Motril, the people vowed to honor her with an annual procession if she would save them. This vow is fulfilled every January 13th. During the Spanish Civil War, the sanctuary was unfortunately destroyed, but it's since been rebuilt. The statue's gold hair and mantle and white robe with golden patterns are usually hidden under richly embroidered vestments. And interestingly enough, elephant tusks are mounted in silver, and they form a crescent moon at her feet. This image was canonically crowned in 2003. Then we jump up to Belgium, in Notre Dame, Namur, in Namur, Wallonia, Belgium. The church there was consecrated in 1753 on this day, January 13th. Next, we have a very interesting devotion. It's Panna Maria Pomichne Kristanu Jelzhikov Deshin Istinad Lavem in the Czech Republic, in Filipov village. That all is to say, Virgin Mary, Help of Christians. We celebrate an apparition and a healing in 1866. So what happened? Well, Maddalena Cade, who was an orphan, right, and she had been bedridden since the age of 12 because she had many, many illnesses, was actually cured by the Blessed Virgin Mary following an apparition. Actually, the local bishop has recognized the healing and the supernatural character of the apparition. So it's approved at least by the local bishop, right? So Philipsdorf, which is the Filipov village, if you will, is a village, it was in Bohemia, but I think now it is actually the Czech Republic, right? So what happened? Maddalena Cade, she was 31. She was born in that little village. And as an orphan, she lived with her brother Giuseppe, who was 34, with his wife Cecilia, and their 5 kids, right? So it was January 13th of 1866 that Mary appeared to Maddalena Cade. She had been a sower, but for 12 years, she had been very, very sick, right? So much so that they really thought that she was at the end of her life and she had already received the last rites. She was a timid woman, but very devout to Our Lady, but also not stupid. She was very practical, right? So she was almost they said nailed to her bed for over a month with wounds all over her body, like it was leprosy. Ugh. January 13th, 1866, at 2 a.m, Maddalena was in bed, and she couldn't even speak because of how weak she was. A dear friend of hers, Veronica Kindermann, was there keeping an eye on her. So the sick woman was sitting there just, contemplating an image of our sorrowful mother, which was on the wall in front of the bed. At 4 o'clock, Maddalena suddenly saw a brilliant light which enlightened the room. And at the center of this light, there was always something even brighter. And she saw a woman there. She woke up her friend, it says when a gomitata, she hit her with her elbow and said, "Hey, look at that beauty. Interestingly enough, Veronica didn't see anything. She only saw the light of the lamp, right? Maddalena was the only one privileged to see Our Lady, right? And so she told her friend, hey, get on your knees because the Blessed Virgin is there. She couldn't stand the light, right? So she actually covered her face with her hands and cried. After a little bit, her friend uncovered her. Magdalene could now see without any difficulty, right? They recited the first 2 verses of the Magnificat, and then Our Lady moved her lips and silently told her, "My daughter, from now on, you are healed," right? And sure enough, she was healed. Likewise, we're going to jump down to Peru, Vírgenes de la Providencia in Otusco, in La Libertad, Peru. On this day in 1867, images were found in the broken rock. In 1571, on this day, the little office of the Blessed Virgin was revised by Pope Pius V. There's a celebration of Our Wounded Lady in Cambrai, France. Couldn't find more information about that. It was in 1547 that the Council of Trent declared that Mary is free from sin. And last, but certainly not least, on this jam-packed day, it's the celebration of Our Lady of Victory in Prague. And this took place in 1620. The church was named in honor of the Austrian Emperor Ferdinand II's victory over a Protestant army near Prague. If you recall, that church, Our Lady of Victory, is famous for holding the Holy Infant of Prague statue. That's where it's held. And that's what we're celebrating today, January 13th. We continue with Book 1, Mary's Life Up to the Birth of Jesus. And today we consider Chapter 26, Conversations. How does the Blessed Virgin Mary teach us to engage in conversation? In imagination, I entered Elizabeth's house as Mary came to visit her. What lessons of modesty, humility, discretion, and love I learn here. Elizabeth recognized Mary as the mother of her God, showered gifts and blessings upon her, praised her greatness, and congratulated her on the extraordinary favors God had done her. Far from letting herself be dazzled by her own dignity, Mary gave back to God the praise offered her, and used the occasion to glorify the Lord. She admitted that God who is mighty has done great things for me. That's Luke 1:49. But she also assigned all the glory to him. She did not forget that, though she was the mother of God, she was also the servant of the Lord. Luke 1:38. Here is sincere humility, with none of that false modesty that so often masks a secret pride. How many people refuse the praise offered them because they hope thereby to win even greater praise? Thus they press modesty itself into the service of vanity. Mary and Elizabeth thought only of God and his great deeds and mercies. They were filled with love and found their delight in telling of the wonderful things his wisdom, power, and goodness had accomplished. The mouth speaks whatever fills the heart. That's Matthew 12:34. You speak only of the world and its empty show. That is the sure proof that you love only the world, and that your heart is the victim of its illusions. Those others belong to the world, said Jesus to his beloved disciple. That is why theirs is the language of the world, and why the world listens to them. That's 1 John 4:5. If they belonged to God, they would speak of him, or at least say nothing that was not inspired by his Spirit. Remember that when God judges you, you must render an account of every word, Matthew 12:36. What a good reason for you to be afraid. How few conversations take place, even among professedly devout people, that do not lengthen the account we must render to God. What can they find to talk about so much? Frivolous matters, rumors, worthless things. Even the conversations they regard as most innocent are of that kind, these frivolous matters. It seems, moreover, that they cannot converse without speaking of the defects of their neighbors. Conversation languishes when it stops being critical or even malicious. Woe to you, malicious tongues! With serpents' fangs you delight to destroy the reputation of the absent. Woe to you, to those who enjoy hearing such talk! Anyone who freely listens to evil talk shares the blame for it.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed our Marian podcast. As St. John Paul II teaches us, from Mary we learn to love Christ, her Son, the Son of God. Through her intercession, may we grow ever closer to him. We encourage you to share this with a loved one or friend and help spread our devotion to Mary. Thank you, and God bless.